vote yes, I sometimes vote no. And that's what I did in the first Trump administration. What are factors that I use? How bad are they? Who might be the alternative?
Right.
Okay, if it wasn't Rick Rubio, they were talking about Rick Grenell,
Ew.
who was a Trump administration guy who would have been an absolute disaster. But the other thing that's a real factor for me, Lowell, Mark would probably say the same. He may not say it quite this way. A third of my staff, all they do is constituent service. So the big agencies, DOD, DHS, state for passports, postal service, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the VA, the IRS, we're on the phone with those
Yeah.
agencies every day on behalf of Virginians who want a tax refund or their VA benefit hasn't been ruled on yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when we call the congressional, liaison office for the VA, I'm calling about Joe Smith from Chesapeake and their claim. They know whether I voted for him or not. Now, it would be nice to assume that they're going to treat every
They should.
constituency all exactly the same. And of course they should. Of course they should. I try to when people call my office. But I found over the course of doing this now for 12 years that you get better customer service for the Virginians who need these agencies every day if you have some level of cooperation with that
Right.
agency and a confirmation vote for somebody who is going to get confirmed. 100% they're going to get confirmed. They don't need your vote. They're going to get confirmed anyway. But it does help you advocate for Virginians sometimes if you have not been hostile to them.
Right, but does it also normalize someone like a Kristi Noem or whoever it is that, hey, she got a bunch of Democratic votes, And it's hard to say.
It could.
I mean,
Yeah.
same thing with
Now
Democrats.
you and I know about Kristi Noem. She's not the one making immigration policy. It's Stephen Miller. She's an
And Coleman.
implementer,
Yeah.
not a creator of the policy. That's White House policy from Stephen Miller. But like the DHS, that you might not think this, but DHS is one of the tied with the VA for the agency we do the most work with because every time somebody, oh man, I'm going abroad on a trip next week and I forgot I got to get my passport, or I got pickpocketed and how do I get home? Or my mother wants to come over for my daughter's wedding from India. We got to get a visa for her,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the deportation and other issues, which are huge. DHS is one of the most frequent flyers in terms of
Yeah.
communicating with them to help Virginians.
I do think there's a
To
disconnect.
get,
I just,
yeah, people,
there's some sort of disconnect. I think that a lot of the grassroots activists don't understand why they see Democrats voting for these horrible Trump picks or going
yeah,
to his inauguration or whatever it is, and they feel like it's normalizing him. We're not really fighting
yeah,
back seriously. We said he's an existential threat, and then it's like, wait, you voted to the whatever, confirm this one and that one, and it's like it is hard. I get it, and I follow this stuff very closely, but for
yeah.
just someone who casually, observes American politics, it's like, wait a minute, if you just came from
Yeah,
Mars,
they look. If you ask people, the everyday person, what does a U.S. senator do? We go to committee meetings and we vote on the floor of the Senate. The thought that a third of my staff does nothing
right,
but
right,
constituent service for 8.5 million Virginians—that's not what people think about when they think about a
right.
Senate. But that's one of the most important things we do.
Right, I'm just saying people are angry, upset, worried, a lot of things out there, and they
Yeah,
want to see their Democratic representatives feel like they're really fighting, shutting down the Senate, slowing it down to a crawl like McConnell probably would have done or whatever.
right.
That type of thing. I don't know. So that's just, I'm sure you're
Yep,
aware of this, but that's sort of, I'm
sure,
noticing this every time and I know social media isn't real life. Well, I mean, it is real people, but I
sure
don't
it is.
know. It's not maybe representative exactly, but you see the polling too.
Hmm.
People aren't thrilled. I mean, the Democratic approval is the lowest right now for the Democratic Congress. It's Congress people. It's very low. Trump's
And Lowell, on that, I mean, I guess that is true nationally, but I understand Virginia, not 49 other states. And we just had a good November in Virginia following a good November last year in Virginia. And I think we're going to have a good November
yeah.
in 2025 in Virginia. So there are some things about national politics that do make me scratch my head. The longer I do it, the more I think I understand one place and I'm mystified by everybody else. But anyway, now the effect on Virginia is as dramatic, maybe more dramatic than
Yeah,
virtually any other place.
because of the federal workforce and
Yeah,
retirees and contractors. I mean, you always hear 140,000 federal employees, but you got more than that of retirees, I believe, and
yeah,
then I don't know how many contractors there are. I haven't seen a good number on that, but I'm sure they're
And
federal
then the families of all
family,
of them.
and then
Now
the
we're talking.
businesses that rely on, you know, the
Yeah.
business. Yeah, so all of that, it's really it's probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not I don't even know, millions that are affected, you know,
Yeah.
by that. So it's huge.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you just go veterans, 1 out of 9 Virginians is a veteran, and that's not 1 out of 9 adults. That's just 1 out of 9
uh-huh.
Virginians is a veteran. So then you add active duty guard, military, contractor, DOD civilian, federal civilian,
Right.
and their families who rely on them. You're talking 1 out of 3 probably.
Right. And what percent of the economy does this account for, or indirectly, or maybe second
Yeah.
order effect, or
I,
whatever?
I've seen that number, and my memory might be playing a trick on me, but I think it's about 40%.
I mean that, yeah. And Youngkin's not really. You said, you know, we mentioned that at the beginning. Rachel Maddow was joking about it, or mocking him, but yeah, he hasn't been fighting for Virginia. If you were governor right now, you'd be fighting for Virginia. If
Yeah, all
Bob
the
McDonald
time.
would have, probably back in the
Yeah.
day.
No, when I was governor, if anything happened in Washington I didn't like, I'd pick up the phone and I'd call Jim Webb and John Warner and say, "Hey, what the heck?" And it didn't make a difference whether it was George Bush or Barack Obama was
Right.
president.
And it
You're not
shouldn't.
moving an aircraft carrier to Jacksonville, Florida from
Right.
Norfolk. You're not doing that. We would all, and they wanted me to call them on that, and they would, Warner would go to bat against a Republican president. Webb would go to bat against a Democratic president. They're going to go to bat for Virginia, and the governor would make that call instantaneously. I'll give you an example, and then I got to go. Um, when the first kind of funding cut stuff started to come through, of course, Trump's not telling the Senate, "I'm going to do this." And so, how do we get the information about it? We get it because people start calling our office.
Mm-hmm.
The first people that call are usually the governor calling the Senate. "Hey, the Medicaid portal is turned off. Nobody can register for Medicaid."
Mm-hmm.
One of my colleagues, Jeff Merkley, got that call from the governor of Oregon. The Medicaid portal is turned off. He spread the word among colleagues. I asked my staffer, call down to DMAS in Richmond and ask if the Medicaid portal has been turned off, because I don't know, maybe it's just some states, not all, or maybe it was a glitch in Oregon. My staffer, Samantha, calls DMAS. "Is the Medicaid portal turned off?" "Well, we'll have to check and get back to you." They wouldn't confirm.
Okay.
Governor Youngkin's opening salvo was, "Yeah, these funding things are paused, but it's not going to affect any individual benefits." Later, they had to come back and correct that no, the Medicaid portal had been turned off.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, everybody else was getting the fire alarm call from the governor right away.
Mm-hmm.
Our Medicaid portal is turned off. Mark and I couldn't even get a confirmation of that.
Yeah, that's really wild. I mean, that's what the founding fathers believed, that, you know, each state would fiercely defend its prerogatives. That each body of the legislatures would defend it. And if that breaks down, I don't know.
Yeah.
All bets are
Yeah.
off anyway. But I appreciate your time. You guys recorded
Yeah,
this,
good to
right?
talk.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, I'm real. I knew this would be up your alley because you're the energy guy. So
No, that's fascinating to me. So, among other things. So anyway, well, take care of yourself.
and yeah, the vote will be next week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, definitely.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
man.
Thanks a
See
lot.
ya.
Take care.